Good evening, everybody. It's uh, it's really wonderful to see you all. As we almost always say, I don't think I've ever signed on and said, "How tedious to be with you all again. What an unfortunate time to have to spend with you." No, it truly is wonderful to sit together in this way, both virtually and to see in that small rectangle. The physical Zendo as well is extra special. So my name is JoAn. My pronouns are he, him, and I haven't done a land acknowledgement in a bit. So let me say that I'm sitting on the land here in New Paltz. Kenko said wherever you are. I am in New Paltz, New York, which used to be called apparently Lenapehoking. The Munsee Lenape lived here, and I would be remiss to not point out that it was New Pfalz, the flats of the river, where the Huguenots came in the late 1600s. And of course, they brought with them slaves, African slaves, to work the land. So that's the history of where I sit right now in a college town where the college kids have gone for the most part right now. But now it's where SUNY New Paltz is. And the weather of late, while the sun has come out now and it feels quite nice, has been overcast and cloudy, sort of dark over these past couple of days, and very, very rainy as well. And I've been thinking a lot about, most recently, perception, how we perceive things, and how our experience gets quickly informed by our perception and built up by our perceptions reflexively, how quickly we can create a story around what's happening. And just a bit ago, a couple of weekends ago, on Sunday, I was sitting here in our Zendo, a little affiliate of Village Zendo, on this property, and there were a couple of people sitting with me, and our sort of bucolic symphony that happens every Sunday of bird and wind and chipmunk and all the sounds of nature was abruptly brought to an end by the roar of a lawnmower. And the first thought I had was, how unfortunate. You know, my beautiful, happy, good zazen sounds have been disturbed by this bad zazen sound of the lawnmower. And as quickly as I had that thought, perhaps within the same breath, I recognized, oh, that's our lawnmower. My husband is mowing the lawn, which had pretty much become hip height in growth because of the rain, and he works in the city during the week, and I've been quite busy with work. And of course, you know, per Murphy's Law, when there was time to mow, it was either soggy or raining or just impossible to do that. So in a nanosecond, nothing changed. You know, the experience, what was happening hadn't changed, but my perception had gone from annoyance and anger to gratitude and love and thankfulness to my husband, who had taken up the task that finally could be done. And, you know, there's another story I'm thinking of as well. It came to mind that JoAn Hoshi had shared some time ago that perhaps you've heard, and I'm probably butchering the actual story, but it's really the gist of the story that's more important. So please forgive me, Roshi, if I misquote it. But she was on retreat and felt that someone near her had very bad gas, extremely bad gas, very foul smelling. And throughout the period of zazen, she was, you know, of course, as any of us would be, aware of that bad smell. And probably all the thoughts came up like, well, why would you come into the Zendo if you were that unwell? You know, perhaps you should go to the monitor and mention, you know, my stomach is upset. I have very bad foul smelling gas. I can't join this period of zazen. You know, maybe seek some help, maybe medical attention, from the sounds of it, was needed because it was that bad. And some kinhin happened, and then it was time for oryoki, and out came the second bowl. And the second bowl was a bean stew. And then JoAn Hoshi recognized that the smell that was so foul and horrible was now the nourishing, loving meal prepared by the Tenzo for them to eat. And suddenly, what was foul and, you know, reprehensible was the very nourishment that was being offered in that afternoon. And I think quite a bit about that, how my perceptions of things can become a solid reality for me, and it may have nothing to do with actual reality. And in fact, when I set those perceptions up and sort of set up camp in that way, perhaps I'm actually farting right on the reality that is being presented to me. So these are pretty straightforward and almost comical, examples of that sort of stimulus, response, reorientation that we can do, regularly. That circuit, is pretty simple, but sometimes the stimulus triggers all kinds of reactions and feelings and ideas. Our eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body and mind meet the stimulus with a history and with past experiences. So last week I had the opportunity to travel to San Diego with my coworkers for a conference, the ACHA, the American College Health Association. And the theme of the conference this year was equity and well-being, the future of college health. And so leading up to the conference, may I say, because I saw on screen Seiryu, I also had the opportunity to sit at Sweetwater for a little bit and see Seiryu and Manchin, who were out there, so extra nice. But the theme of the conference was this equity and and well-being. And so we were receiving, countless emails every day from the ACHA polling us as to, what lectures would we attend? What are our interests? Would we go to this? Would we go to that? And it's a daunting task, I'm sure, for the organizers of this to set that up and figure out what rooms should be available and how many chairs should be there. It's a large conference, close to 2,000 attendees from all over the country and Canada, for that matter. So every morning we'd pull out the program and sort of look at the offerings that day as a group and determine what is it we're all going to do, trying to spread out and gather as much knowledge as possible, not double up on things, so we could come back with the biggest toolkit possible. And there were, workshops on increasing HPV vaccination within campuses, how to stop and prevent sexual violence on campuses, new approaches and treatments to disordered eating. It was really a very, very rich conference. And in some of the emails that they sent, they talked about affinity groups and that there would be plenty of time to, meet those needs as well. When I thought, of course, this is about equity. And, I looked at the emails briefly and sort of scrolled through. And the first go, I said, well, where's my affinity group? I don't see it. There's no LGBTQIA+ group. Must just be an oversight. I'm not reading the email carefully enough. It just went into the, look at it later box. There were more pressing things to do. But finally, I really scrolled through the email and I went, it seems like my affinity group isn't included. Is this an oversight? Let me just gently reach out to one of the presenters or one of the organizers and say, shed some light here for me. I'm missing this. And I received an email back saying, nope, you're not missing anything. Really, our focus this year is on the inequities within the BIPOC communities and white privilege and how that has affected healthcare. And I took a breath and I thought, yes, 100%, absolutely. I'm in accord with this. These are glaring inequities. And then I took another breath and I thought, I'm a nurse. I can chew gum and walk at the same time. We are capable of doing more than one thing at a time. In fact, that is a hallmark of healthcare. We're often doing 20 things at a time, not to the detriment of the healthcare we're delivering, but we're capable of this. This is a conference. Isn't there room enough? So I responded to this email and pressed further and said, I'm disappointed. I think we're a bigger organization than this. And I clearly recognize the important work as a healthcare provider witnessing the inequities due to race in our healthcare systems. I agree wholeheartedly. but we also see non-binary and trans students and students dealing with their sexual orientation, identity. Don't we have room to discuss that as well? And I received a response to that email from the same person saying, yes, I hear your frustrations, but again, our focus is really going to be on BIPOC breakout groups and white identified breakout groups, and those will be the two groups that exist. And fear not, there's going to be plenty of lectures on the issues you're bringing up. We recognize that. There were two in the some 200 odd lectures that were offered. There were two that skirted the issue of gender and gender identity, not really hit it straight on, from my experience. So I CC'd this email chain to my boss, a very progressive doctor who came to us from Dartmouth, very forward thinking, just to kind of get her response and let her know that perhaps I'm the bad guy at the conference. I'm the one pushing a bit, and she might hear about me from somebody. I guess it was to cover my bases. And she also has a child who is non-binary. And so, much to my delight, she was equally appalled and upset and surprised by this and thought, said out loud, can't we do two things at once? We're healthcare workers. And I agreed. And she encouraged me, press on. Don't stop here. Continue to ask. Why isn't there room at the table for everyone? And I have to say, I capitulated and I caved and I retreated, and old stories came up. Oh, maybe I make too much noise. Maybe this isn't as important as I'm making it out to be. It sounds like they're addressing this. This may be a more important issue as they've stated. I certainly can see the import of it. Maybe I'm just being, trying to shed light on something, but I'm actually just being a pain in the ass. Maybe I'm that guy. And, I just want to go to the conference. I want to go to Southern California. I want to eat good seafood, be with my coworkers, get a little knowledge from the conference and come home. It seems like a lot of work, to press this. And I recently learned a new psychological term that I had not at the conference, as a matter of fact, that I had not heard before. And it is called stereotype threat. And perhaps you've heard of it. It was new to me. And I'm going to read you the DSM definition of stereotype threat. It refers to the risk of confirming negative stereotypes about a group's racial, ethnic, gender, or cultural group, which can create high cognitive load and lead to decreased focus and performance. And I find it interesting, while DSM is no longer made homosexuality pathological, they still have left out of their definition of stereotype threat my affinity group. And so it's a little triggering, I might say. So I'm going to bring up a koan that I believe sort of speaks to this, and I hope you can follow my logic here. It's the 26th case in the Mumonkan. The monks gathered in the hall to hear great Hogen of Seiryu give a talk before the midday meal. Hogen pointed to the bamboo blinds, and two monks got up and walked over and rolled them up alike. And Hogen said, one has it and one doesn't. And I can't help but feel for these poor monks. I think of one monk going, oh God, it's me. I always do it wrong. I do it wrong all the time. That's my baseline. I do everything wrong. Oh God, oh God, oh God. And perhaps the other monk, maybe the other monk thought, nope, it's got to be the other monk. I'm in accord. My practice is strong. He can't be talking about me. Or maybe both monks or one of them saw what Hogen was actually pointing to so compassionately, setting up this compassionate trap. One has it, one does not. But he's pointing to what blocks the light out, what obscures our seeing clearly, that division of one, the other. Yes, no, has, doesn't have. It's a very compassionate and loving trap. I'm sure it puzzled the monks for a while. God knows it puzzled me going into Doksan for quite some time, and still does. There's many, many levels to this. So we chant in the Heart Sutra, No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness. We emphasize that one body, the unity of all phenomena, that nothing stands alone. And yet, if you come on the summer retreat with us, and I hope you do this summer, later in the day, the second service, we often chant the identity of relative and absolute, or the song of the jewel mirror, awareness. And in the identity of relative and absolute, we chant, each thing has its own intrinsic value in relation to everything else. So, yeah, oneness, and yet sometimes we have to put the focus on something individually to really see it clearly. So, one of the lectures I attended was called The Balls in Your Court, Issues in Men's Health in the college age population. And I went in with my sleeves rolled up. You know, I was kind of ready to battle, you know, what is this? You know, this is so exclusatory. You know, it's leaving out our trans, our non-binary students. You know, why does it have to be titled this? And so I sat down, and the lecturer came up and immediately identified himself with his pronouns, identified himself as queer, said he hoped that the title of his lecture got us in the door and into the chair, and then proceeded to say, there's no such thing as men's health. There is no such thing as women's health. We need to stop using this language in our treatment rooms and in our health centers in general. It's exclusatory. It cuts people out. He also, on June 1st, wished everyone a happy Pride, which was the first that I had heard of this in the conference, which was also mildly distressing to me because I certainly looked around and I saw queer folk, you know, of many colors at that concert, at this conference as well. And there was just a bow to a rainbow flag and a pronoun sticker that you could put on your, you know, big lanyard that you wore around your neck. That was it. That was the nod. And this presenter also said he too was disappointed that there was not an affinity group that represented LGBTQIA people in this conference, and that we need to do better. So we have a long way to go. I certainly have a long way to go. I by no means am perfect at this. To see the whole picture, you know, and its parts simultaneously, it is not an easy thing to do often. It's quite hard. We have to perhaps live on the edge of Manjushri's sword, you know, with one foot in the many and one foot in the one. It's not a comfortable place to live always, too. You might get cut. But I think it's where we have to live. You know, if our eyes are rolled back in our heads in some state of absolute bliss, of, you know, no right, no wrong, no up, no down, no trans, no cis, no straight, no gay. If we live there, we're of no use, and the blinds are down. No light's getting in, right? And if we live in a place where we're always right, or have a need to be right, or for that matter, where we perceive that we are in the wrong too much, how's the light going to get in there? You know, I don't think it is. So what's the answer? Just roll up the blinds. Just roll them up. And when they come down again and things get cloudy, like they did just now, roll them up again. Roll up the blinds again and again and again. It's not a one and done. So we're going to continue very likely to build stories around our experiences, stories of grandeur, stories filled with stereotype threat maybe, stories where we exalt one thing and diminish another. And isn't that just kind of part of our nature? Isn't that just the way we're built? So if we could come to a place, if I can come to a place of acceptance, and not a capitulatory acceptance, not a caving in acceptance, but an acceptance that has agency and power, recognizing things as they are. You know, I think of our posture of zazen. You know, we take this posture on the cushion that's awake, that's ready to stand and move at a moment, and yet it's calm and has spaciousness in it. So, can we have both of those things? And can we come from a place where we can see where there is darkness and shine light into that space, wherever it may be? And as it's Pride Month, I think I would like to leave you with the lyrics to a song made popular by Barbra Streisand. It feels appropriate, and as well as other artists. And it was written by Burton Lane, and the lyrics are by Alan Lerner. And I shan't sing it, fear not. I will just read you the lyrics. Could anyone among us have an inkling or a clue what magic feats of wizardry and voodoo you can do? And who would ever guess what powers you possess? And who would have the sense to change his view and start to mind his ESP and cues? For who would ever dream of hearing phones before they ring, or ordering the earth to send you up a little spring, or finding you've been crowned the queen of lost and found? And who would not be stunned to see you prove there's more to us than surgeons can remove? So much more than we ever knew, so much more than we were born to do. Should you draw back the curtain, this I am certain, you'll be impressed with you. On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it'll astound you, the glow of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore you can hear from far and near, a world you've never heard before. On a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and evermore.